Welcome everyone to the special meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, March 27th, 2020. The time is 1:46 p.m. Dr. Campos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We will now take roll and also quorum for those that are listening to us via phone or coming through this Zoom meeting. I will go ahead and notify who is in the room and who is outside the room. For quorum and roll call, we have Commissioner Villegas inside the boardroom. We have Commissioner Davis inside the boardroom. We have Commissioner James inside the boardroom and also Commissioner Caloza inside the boardroom. Joining us via Zoom is Commissioner Garcia, who is in the building but outside the boardroom. We are all spatially distanced, at least 6 feet apart, for those that may be curious about that. Mr. President, you do have a quorum. We have individuals here from the bureaus that are here to prepare and present the items. For general public comment, we have 4 individuals that are lined up in the queue for general public comment, and I will go ahead and read those names to you in the next few minutes as well. We did receive 1 email coming in from item number 9, which is the AFE for Sin City. That email commentary was distributed to all commissioners this morning and is before you as well. In our Google Sheets, we also have a platform where individuals can leave commentary for the Board of Public Works, and that platform has provided us 1 response. It's from TJ, who was testing the system, but it will go into the record. It is working as a Google comment form that individuals can go ahead and submit their commentary via written form through Google Form. Again, that is listed in our agenda. As of right now, we did receive 1 commentary from TJ testing this system. Mr. President, having said that, we do not have any neighborhood council commentary. We do have 4 individuals in the general public comment queue. Before I read those, would you like to go through the set of instructions for comments?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Dr. Campos. Let me say just a very special word of thanks to Dr. Campos, your team, as well as the team at ITA. Fernando, your work in the last few days to prepare us for this meeting has been just terrific, along with Cairo, who's here, Truman and Tammy, our team, anyone else that has been of assistance. I know that Mr. Jordan, our city attorney, is, hi Ted, waving at us remotely. So Mr. Jordan is here. I want to thank him for his assistance in our work getting the meeting scheduled today. I also want to thank Ms. Comer and the great people at ITA for their work in preparing us for the meeting today. It is not just as easy as a Zoom meeting. It is complicated by the requirement that at least one of us be here present in City Hall, just as you saw. Many of you, our City Council President is there in her council chambers as well. So it is a more complicated process that other people experience in their own Zoom experiences at home or other virtual video meeting setups because of the legal requirements that we must meet regarding the Brown Act and various administrative code requirements. So I want to thank all of you for the great work in putting this together. Let me give an updated instruction for our public commenters. As you can tell from our schedule, we have up to now been following the meeting dates of the Los Angeles City Council, including today, as well as following their rules. We plan on having a meeting on Tuesday, going forward on Tuesday. I don't know what their schedule is for next week. I don't know if they've announced that one way or the other. We are planning a meeting on Tuesday. That said, we are following the council's public comment rules for meetings that are taking place through this process that we're following the lead of the council on and through this coronavirus crisis remake of the way we're doing our meetings. What that means is each public commenter will have 1 minute per item, up to 3 items. If you want to speak on more than 3 items, you can, but that doesn't affect the time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Plus, we will have 1 minute for general public comment. So that's a total of 4 minutes. Today, we're going to try doing the same thing that the Los Angeles City Council has done. We will take each speaker one at a time, and they can take all of their time for the 3 or more items that they would like to speak to, up to 3 minutes, or and including their additional 1 minute for general public comment for a total of 4 minutes. So that said, Dr. Campos, have I left anything out before you start with our speakers?
I believe you've covered everything.
All right.
Regarding the public speakers. We did have 6 speakers lined up. We are now down to 0 speakers lined up. It is not a technological problem. We are seeing individuals signing in and signing out.
Okay.
But at this time, the 6 individuals that were participating in the public commentary Zoom account are no longer on that account now.
Okay, then let's go ahead and take some of our agenda items. We have 2 administrative items without presentation. These are items that have come back for signature. Administrative item, agenda item number 16, Council Districts 11 and 14. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works to execute amendment number 2 to the personal services contract with 5 Keys schools and programs for services related to the implementation of the mobile pit stop bathrooms and mobile showers programs. And colleagues, before I call for questions, we have 4 of us in the room. Commissioner Garcia, I can see you on our screen. You have an electronic raise your hand button, or if you also want to speak or have a question on the item, since I can't see you in person, you can just wave at me on the camera or turn on your electronic raise hand button and I'll know that you have a question. Is that okay? Great, thank you for the thumbs up. So any questions on agenda item number 16? Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item 16 forthwith? By Commissioner Caloza. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. That takes us to agenda item number 17.
Mr. President, just for the record, for those that are hearing in through the phone or coming in through the internet, Commissioner Garcia, if you can just do a verbal acknowledgement.
Oh, great. Yes, thank you. Commissioner Garcia, could we get a verbal from you on each of these items of a yay or nay?
Yes, no problem. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
So number 16 is a yay?
Yay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So then without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 16. Any issue sending a 16 forthwith? We'll send number 16 forthwith. Agenda item number 17. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works to execute the contract with Howroy Wright Employee Agency doing business as Apple One Employment Services for temporary invoice processing and administrative support services. This is an item that's been heard by the board. It's coming back for signature. Are there any questions? Okay, no questions. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 17 forthwith, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, is that a yay from you or a nay from you?
Yay.
Okay, so that's without objection on agenda item number 17. Let's go to agenda item number 5. Actually, let's pay some bills first. We've got some authorities for expenditure. Agenda item number 11 is an authority for expenditure for Council District 14, the Ozone Clean Technologies Incorporated. Sanitation and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $55,000 for cleanup and disinfection by ozonation in Skid Row. The request is to authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the service agreement. And we have Mr. DeJory from Sanitation. Dr. Campos, before I go to Mr. DeJory, do you have any speakers that have shown up in the queue for item number 11 or at all?
No, we do not have any speakers.
Okay, then Moss will go ahead with you for agenda item number 11.
Moss?
Moss, can you hear us?
Moss, can you hear us? Moss was on the line a few minutes ago. However, I don't see him signed in at this time, so we may have lost the connectivity for him.
Okay.
Mr. President, if you'd like to go to another
I'll
item,
go to
we'll try
another
to get
item.
him on.
Yep, and we'll see if we can get Moss back on the line. Let's see. Let's go to agenda item number 10, authority for expenditure for Cordoba Corporation. Do we have Ming on the line? Is Ming, can we check for Ming?
Ming?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm going to call the item. What I'm going to do is make sure we have our bureau reps before I call the item. So, Ming, since we have you, hang on one moment. Authority for Expenditure, Cordoba Corporation. Street Services and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $42,945 to provide professional, one moment, just pulling it up here, professional engineering, consulting, program management, and training for street services, stormwater to street trees, proof of concept, and pilot demonstration projects. Secondly, authorize myself or two members of the board to execute the letter of agreement after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Dr. Campos, you don't have any speakers on this item, do you?
I do not.
Okay, Ming, go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, President James, Board of Public Works members, and other Bureau representatives. Chi Ming Gong for Streets LA, pleased to present this item. Our entire concept with this is to develop some tools that we can use in our toolkit for stormwater capture, clarification of stormwater for use specifically in watering the urban landscape within the public right-of-way. We're planting a lot of trees, and we're expected to plant many, many more, and it seems a shame not to be able to capture some of the stormwater that we do get here in Southern California to water the trees. Our resources are being stretched thin for the watering crews that we have, and we thought that there's got to be a way of capturing some of the stormwater to do some good for us. We have all kinds of different infrastructure work that we are hoping they'll go forward with in the future, and stormwater capture will be a big component of that from what we see. Cordoba Corporation has agreed to help us develop some of those tools to more efficiently capture those stormwaters using various engineering techniques and maybe some innovations that we can adapt in various parts of the city for this work. I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. We're hopeful that with this professional collaboration between us and Cordoba Corporation, that we'll be able to find a lot of different ways, maybe some innovative ways, in order to do stormwater capture in the south part of the city, in mid-city, as well as the valley. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions at all for Ming on agenda item number 10? We'll start with Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, President James. Just, Ming, thank you for bringing this forward. I'm glad that Streets LA is going down this path. Seeing that there's going to be many opportunities for grants in the future, and making that nexus between best management practices for trees and being able to capture stormwater, especially off of our busy streets. So I really appreciate it. More of a comment than a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Anything further? Commissioner Garcia, any questions from you?
No questions from me.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, if I can just remind the speakers that are signed in through Zoom, the presenters and our commissioner, if you can mute your button on your end so that we can reduce the feedback and any noise that's coming in. Again, if you can mute your microphones, that would be great. Only unmute when you are called or when your item is called.
Great, thank you. Well, we'll do the best we can with, maybe they'll hear us soon. So on agenda item number 10, we've completed any questions and comments. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 10? That'll be by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, a yay or a nay from you?
Yay.
Okay, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 10. Any issues at all sending number 10 forthwith? We'll send number 10 forthwith. Let's try and see if we have Moss again for number 11. No, we don't see Moss for
Not
number
yet.
11? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move to number, let's try number 9. Authority for expenditure. Hi, Moss?
Hello?
Yeah.
This is Moss.
Oh, great.
Oh,
There you are. Okay, so Moss, we're going to...
I'm sorry, I had a problem with the mute.
Oh, okay. So, well, we're all getting through this together, so no problem. Let me call agenda item number 11. We'll go back to it. Agenda item number 11, Council District 14, Ozone Clean Technologies Incorporated, Sanitation and Accounting, are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $55,000 for cleanup and disinfection by ozonation in Skid Row. Secondly, authorize the president or two members of the Board of Public Works to execute the service agreement. Dr. Campos, are there any speakers in the queue on number 11?
Let me just double check. No speakers.
Okay, Moss, go ahead on number 11.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I can't understand you, President James.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm asking for board approval for a letter of agreement and authority for expenditure in the amount of $55,000 to conduct a follow-up study regarding ozone treatment, which is a very innovative disinfection treatment for fecal material in the public right-of-way. To just give you a little bit of background information, we conducted an initial study for ozone and compared it to our current disinfection or disinfectant, which is bleach. And some bench-level testing, meaning laboratory testing by UCLA and on fecal indicator bacteria and the University of Tennessee for hepatitis A virus indicated that ozone is extremely effective in reducing both bacteria and viral pathogens. But no field work had ever been done, no field studies. So we went ahead and did some field studies in June of 2019. But the problem was that we faced two really issues that we want to address. One was that the baseline bacterial levels weren't very high to begin with in the areas that we tested. So when we ended up applying the ozone treatment and the bleach treatment in a different area for comparison, it didn't really show that much of a reduction because the initial levels were not very low. There were some other problems with sample collection, so we want to correct both those issues in this follow-up study. And what we propose is doing about 16 of these different pilot studies or tests so that we can be pretty sure that we're going to hit some areas that are highly contaminated with bacteria. And then we want to make sure that we collect the proper samples to do the tests. So that's why we're asking for this follow-up study. And you'll see on the letter of agreement, I think that the dates are something like February to May. I talked it over with Alex Isla, who is the president of Ozone Technologies Company, and we have agreed because of this SARS-CoV-2 virus that we're going to go ahead and postpone this until his staff is more available and our staff are more available to conduct this study. And that pretty much completes my presentation. I'll address any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Moss. Any questions at all for Moss? Commissioner Garcia?
no questions from me.
Okay. I don't have any questions either, Moss. Thank you for the explanation. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 11, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, yay or nay from you?
Yay.
Okay. All right, so Commissioner Garcia's in, so without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 11. Any issue sending number 11 forthwith? We'll send number 11.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moss. We'll send number 11 forthwith. On number 12, I don't have anybody on number. Is that the one we were waiting for? Okay, we're still waiting. Okay, so let's go to number 13. We have a requested bid extension. Mr. Sisson on number 13, are you in, Ray?
Yes, Commissioner, I'm here.
Okay, great. One moment. Let me call the item, and then we'll come right back to you. Agenda item number 13, Council District number 6. Requested bid extension, the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Equalization and Emergency Backup Power Project, recommending that the board first grant an extension of the bid date from March 25th, 2020 to March 31, 2020, and secondly, direct the city engineer to advise all prospective bidders of the board's action by addendum. Dr. Campos, we're still moving this to March 31, which will be this Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any speakers on the queue on number 13, Dr. Campos?
Mr. President, I believe this one, Mr. Sasan will ask for a different date extension to April 21st.
Got it. Okay, so we are.
It's the next bid extension that's coming up, so.
Okay. So on this one, okay, well, let me get one thing at a time. Dr. Campos, do you have any speakers on the queue on this?
No speakers.
Okay. So, Mr. Sisson, on this item, I read the agenda. You're going to seek an amendment to April 21?
That is correct, Commissioner
Okay.
James.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, with regards to this motion, we would like to extend the bid due date due to the current events happening in the city from an amendment. Instead of March 31, it should be April 21st, 2020.
Okay, and any questions? I think we understand the reasons for the requested bid extension. Anything other than what is essentially obvious here, Mr. Sisson?
This is Commissioner Garcia. I do have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia. Ray, did you hear my first question?
I'm sorry, sir?
Just wondering is this just because of the interruption that we've had in our economy and everything else that's happened right now that we're extending this bid?
Yeah, besides the current situation that we have, we've received some requests from a couple of our contractors to extend the bid due date further than March 31.
Got it.
Because of their this current situation as well in their office.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
My question was mostly about the outreach aspect of this. You say you're notifying them. Are you going to do some kind of like maybe a webinar or an orientation to make sure that everybody understands that we're moving the dates?
Commissioner Garcia, once this particular motion is approved, we will be issuing an addenda today, and we are going to email all the prospective bidders of the bid extension to April 21.
Thank you. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 13, seconded by Commissioner Caloza and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you okay with this one or no?
Yes.
Okay, so without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 13. Any issue sending 13 forthwith? We'll send number 13 forthwith.
That's
Mr.
as
Sisson,
amended. As amended.
yes, I'm sorry.
that would be,
One moment, Ray. As we need to send 13 as amended, correct, Dr. Campos?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. Let me call agenda item number 14 for you in Council District 14. Bid extension, the Burwood Avenue and Figueroa Street Storm Drain Project, recommending that the board first grant an extension of the bid date from March 25th, 2020. It says to March 31, 2020, but Ray will clear that up with you in a moment. And then secondly, direct the city engineer to advise all prospective bidders of the board's action by addendum. Ray, are you there for a number 14 as well?
Yes, Commissioner James.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Ray, if you can just hold on. Mr. President, I did have somebody sign in, Stella from our general public comment. I'd like to ask her if she's on item number
14.
14.
Okay.
Stella from the general public, can you unmute your microphone? Stella? Stella from the general public, we see you. Can you unmute your microphone? Thank you, Stella.
There we go.
Stella, would you like to speak on item number 14? Stella, we can see that you unmuted your mic. Can you speak to the microphone, please? Item number 14. Would you like to speak on item number 14, Stella? Stella? Mr. President, I do not have any audio coming in from Stella, but she is signed in. Throughout the meeting, we will ask her which item she would like to speak on,
Okay,
if
well,
any.
Stella, if you would like to speak on item 14, could you raise your hand? Since we have a visual?
No raising hands.
Okay.
Stella has muted her microphone.
All right, so then let's move on 14. And when we come back to Stella, if she wants to speak on any of the items, we'll give her that opportunity.
Okay.
So on number 14, Mr. Sisson, go ahead.
Yes, we're requesting the board to extend the bid due date for the Burwood Avenue and Figueroa Street storm drain to March 31st. We'd like to request the board to grant this extension to receive bids on March 31st, 2020.
Okay, so Ray, for this one, you do want the date to remain March 31.
That is correct, Commissioner James.
Okay.
And just add, we've already notified the contractors last Tuesday that we are extending the bid due date to March 31st since the board meeting on Tuesday was canceled.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at all on agenda item number 14 for March 31? Commissioner Garcia, any questions? Nope.
No.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 14. That's seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or a nay on this?
Yay.
Okay, so without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 14. Any issues sending 14 forthwith? 14 was not amended, so it will go as is. Let's go to agenda item number 15. Authorization to approve recommendation of street closures, recommending that the board first authorize the Bureaus of Street Services and Engineering to work with the Department of Transportation to develop a streamlined review and approval process for street closure approvals associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. And secondly, authorize the president of the board to approve recommendations for street closures without full public hearings at the Board of Public Works. This is a motion, colleagues, that I've submitted and seconded by Commissioner Villegas. We have the general manager of Streets LA, the Bureau of Street Services, on with us, Mr. Haj Khalil. We'll get to him in one moment to explain the background of this. This is something that Street Services brought to us. And Dr. Campos, do we have any speakers on the queue on item 15?
No, we do not, Mr. President.
Okay.
Stella is no longer on the line.
Okay, Mr. Haj Khalil, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, President James, Commissioners Adel Haj Khalil, General Manager of Streets LA. What you have before you is something that's part of our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as the mayor said, we need to do everything we can to expedite and move things forward, to be ready to respond and serve our residents in the fastest way we can. Our partner, Kaiser Permanente, came to us, and we met with them Monday and to discuss, and through also Council District 6, which is the Council President's office, facilitated a meeting with Kaiser Permanente, DOT, and us to discuss preparation at the Panorama City Kaiser Permanente complex and how they can get ready and be prepared to receive patients for examination, testing, and to allow for maximizing space, to allow for distancing, proper queuing of members of the community. So we are working with Kaiser Permanente around that complex on different areas for testing, for queuing on Woodley and other places in the complex, and some of the streets within the complex will be closed partially or fully. But time is of the essence, and what we need to do is expedite review and approval, and really minimize anything that would delay the process. We're moving quickly on the approvals for this complex in Panorama City, but we know there's other locations across the city that would require some quick action by Streets LA, DOT, and the board in approving these closures or partial closures. So I think as the board that approves these closures and in accordance with the mayor's directive and our calling in responding and serving our residents, I think this motion, when I talked to President James, he was ready to really introduce this and streamline the process, because what we want to do is get out of the way, support our medical facilities to make their life, they're saving lives, and we want to be able to help them out so we can be ready for whatever is coming and to support them. So I think it'd be great to develop something, and we're going to work with our partners in engineering, DOT, to streamline the process and keep you informed and quickly work with our partners in the medical services community. But also this applies to any street closure that is needed to support the response to the COVID-19. So hopefully your board will take action to support Commissioner James's motion, because I think this is essential to be ready to meet the needs of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hashkhalil. Any questions at all regarding this? Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
No, no questions.
Okay. Let me just say, Adele, a thank you to you and to engineering and to the leadership at transportation as well in working with Kaiser and bringing this important issue to us. Obviously, this is something we want to do anything we can to help our medical professionals in this situation, and this is something that could be very beneficial for them really at numerous locations around the city. If we get to that point, we will be ready to do so. So with that, the motion has been made and it's been seconded by Commissioner Villegas and Commissioner Davis as well, along with Commissioner Caloza. Any objection?
Me too.
And by Commissioner Garcia. So that will be the order on agenda item number 15. We will send that forthwith without objection as well. Mr. Hashkhalil, could you stay with us for one more item? Adele, can you stay for one more item? One second.
Adele, you have to take off your mute.
Can you unmute?
I'm here.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Just in case there were a couple of questions, I think we've got agenda item number 10 is related to what we did number 10. Number 9, Authority for Expenditure, Zen City Technologies. Do we have Mark Lovano? Is he on the line? Mr. Lovano?
Mara?
Oh, it's Mara?
Mara,
Okay.
are you on the line?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't read this. Mara Lovano, okay. And Ms. Lovano, we have you on the line?
Yes.
Okay, great. One moment, let me call the item for you. Agenda item number 9, Authority for Expenditure, Zen City Technologies, Street Services and Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $58,500 to pay for the pilot project Zen City Phase 2. Secondly, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the letter of agreement after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Do we have any speaker cards on number 9, Dr. Campos?
Mr. President, we do not have any participants in the general public comment.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Lovano on number 9.
Good afternoon, Mara Luvano with Streets LA. Today we are requesting board approval to execute an authority for expenditure in the amount of $58,500 to pay for the Zen City pilot project. So Zen City is a social listening tool that will enable the city to engage more deeply with residents that may not be actively engaged with our government, which will allow us to be proactive in addressing their concerns. It has the ability to digest public social media data and city-specific data, such as Twitter, Facebook, and 311. It also provides analytics in Spanish language conversations, therefore capturing more voices from the community. The data is analyzed and displayed through insights that can show trending topics and sentiments, and it can also be further broken down by council districts and neighborhoods, so we can understand the needs of the specific communities. So this pilot project was approved by the Innovation and Performance Commission at its December 2019 meeting and was adopted by council on March 6th. Streets LA is working alongside the Mayor's Office Innovation Delivery Team to deliver this pilot project. For Streets LA, we envision using this tool to help plan and develop our programs, such as expanding our urban forests, improving and maintaining our sidewalk repairs, and proactively managing our street furniture installations. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions at all for Ms. Lovano on agenda item number 9? No questions on number 9. Do you have a question? One moment. Commissioner Davis, I'm sorry, then we'll go to Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Davis.
I wanted to ask, in terms of the vendor, this is
You might get a little closer to your microphone, sir. There we go.
this is a sole proprietor business, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
It's a sole proprietor business. Who is the company owned by that is providing the service? Who's the prime contractor on this project?
So the service provider is Zen City,
Are they,
and they are based outside of the country.
I see. There's someone who does business with us regularly?
No. Commissioner Davis Adel Hashkalil, this is a pilot. One of the things that we're looking at is actually looking for innovative ideas to help provide feedback into our way to better serve our residents, other than 311, other than people calling council offices. We're trying to be on the edge using innovation. So the mayor's office and us found this new technology available, and this is just a pilot. It's a pilot that this company is the sole proprietor for.
Sure.
And we are piloting with them on this project. So what we're doing right now is just testing it to look at the effectiveness. So it's a short-term contract, and hopefully, and this is timely because with this COVID-19, the mayor's office is intending to also use it to help reach out and listen to what's going on in the community and adjust the services that we have and we're doing, not in Streets LA, only across the city, to better respond to the needs of the city.
And the scope of our pilot, we're going to do it for how many months have we decided yet?
Mara, you want to answer that?
The duration of the pilot is 1 year.
We're doing it for 1 year. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thanks, Mara and Adele, for your presentation. I had a question about how you guys came to picking Zen City, and I'm just curious what attracted you to the specific pilot and using their service.
So, Mara, you want to start, or how you want?
I think you have more insight to this, Adele.
So Adele Hashkalil, one of the things that we're doing in Streets LA is we started an effort a year and a half ago is looking for innovative solutions to better serve our residents and provide efficiency in the services. So we've been working on looking at technologies across the world, across the country, of things that we need. So we identified the needs in the city, and we came up with different technologies that we've looked at and evaluated. So we looked at things like mobile eye for artificial intelligence to find defects on the streets. We're looking at the pilots right now. We looked at something that has to do with capturing data to provide any defects in the streets that we can highlight. We're looking at another project we're looking at. This Zen City was identified as a technology that is being used by others to really augment how we receive services and input from the public. Many times our residents will complain through social media without really having a way to capture that and be able to adjust our services and better serve them. So Houston, other cities across the world and the U.S. are starting to use this. And at the same time, the mayor's office, we're actually in discussion with Zen City So our needs and the mayor's office needs were on alignment, and we actually were in communication with the Innovation Fund to help fund the pilot. So it's really we did a review of the needs, and Zen City came to be one that really met what we're looking for. And since it's being used and they have a good record, we thought we should try it for a one-year pilot and decide at the end what we do with it.
Thanks for that explanation. I was also, my second part of that question was what other cities were using it, and you mentioned that Houston is one of the cities, so that's good to know. There was some, and Fernanda mentioned this earlier, some additional feedback that we got over email. I think some concerns were raised about some data privacy issues. Is there anything that you guys are able to say related to that, to at least provide additional context?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Adele, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, let me start. The privacy question came up with the council and the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. That was heard, discussed, and there was assurances made by the mayor's office, by our team, that none of this is actually invading the privacy of the public. It's actually publicly available information on social media that is being gathered. And the question that is brought, and then you would mine the publicly available information. So you're not really mining and trying to do anything different than just watching Facebook or social media information that's publicly available. So this doesn't go in. So that discussion happened at Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee, and the committee was satisfied with that issue. It also was discussed at council, and everybody was satisfied with that discussion. And one of the things that we want to do is assure the public that what we're trying to do is serve the community and the public better, and that's what we are doing. And it's going to just look into information like we're looking at 311. The 311 is a database gathering feedback from the public. This is the same thing. We're trying to make sure that every voice is heard. And if somebody is raising an issue or providing feedback about a service by the city or a lack of service by the city, we want to know so we can adjust and better serve the residents. So it's another tool in the listening as we improve our services. So we're confident that this is not anything that will violate anybody's privacy. This is publicly available.
Great, thank you, Adele. And just one last question from me. Before I close my time, I really appreciate Streets LA, its leadership in taking the role and really trying to use data analytics to understand what's being said by the community in order to improve our services. And that feedback loop is really important, especially now when some of the face-to-face interaction isn't possible. Will Streets LA be producing or sharing a report of your one-year pilot program, and is it possible for the board to get a copy, if so?
Yeah, always. We're here to serve you. So we'll share that information, the data. We're working closely with the mayor's office innovation team, and we will be sharing with you and the council committee the results and how we are improving services. I'm hoping this will really give us, after we get through this, what we're going through today, is improve the services of how we do our job. So we will share that, and we'd love to have your feedback as we move forward.
Okay.
And I have the utmost trust in the team. Mara and Kevin Mann, along with Ken Tan, has been really working closely with Amanda Lafos from Mayor's office, and we are very appreciative of that teamwork. And we'll continue to share that both with you one-on-one, but also hopefully we'll come to the board to make a presentation to make it available to others that may need to use it for enhancing services. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you for the additional context and explanation. Really appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President James. Adele or Mara, I have a question. So public, will I know that my information is being captured by you? By Sin City?
This is Adele.
Del?
So my answer is it's you have actually, like, let's say you put something on Facebook as a comment, or you do something on Twitter. That is publicly available information. So anything you put on these domains is publicly available. Anything that's private in your private area that nobody else has, they will not have access to. So really, the control is with the public. It's basically anything they share publicly is something that we are listening to and we're going to bring in. So we're not trying to go to create anything that's not a comment that was made by the public. So as a resident, you have an interest in a street A in front of your house. You've said for many, many things that that street does not need to be paved or needs to be paved. And you keep saying, I'm having a lot of issues with it. My car is being, damaged as a result of this bad street. And you have not filed the 311, but you're putting a comment on social media, and then somebody else agrees with you. To me, we're trying to find out, is there anything else that can help us prioritize the work? So it's not something that we're trying to listen. It's actually trying to mine and capture publicly available information.
So will you have then like specific words that will trigger the capturing of this data?
Yeah, there'll be questions. Like we will ask there'll be questions, whoever the project manager, let's say Mara or the mayor's office, they have a specific interest in the city's response to the COVID-19 as it relates to the homeless population. That could be a question that's put out there. And then any dialogue has been happening on social media. They will be able to get a sense that a lot of people are talking about it. And the sense of people is saying, we need to provide them shelter, we need to feed them, we need to do X, whatever, X, Y, and Z. That information will be captured. So there'll be key questions asked. And then the technology will be able to provide what is the sediments out there. It's a sediment analysis tool. What are the sediments out in the public regarding this issue or this specific topic or this specific word? So let's talk about street sweeping, for example. We're looking at enhancing street sweeping and going from, instead of in the future, next year or two, instead of doing every week, we're doing every other week, but then expand the areas to be swept across the city. It'd be a good thing to know what people think about it. Are people seeing a difference in that sweeping? So really, to me, I think it's another tool for us to help us really get the sentiments of the public and what they need done and how they're feeling about the services we provide. So it's the same thing as trying to capture information from somebody who's like providing feedback on social media, but now we want to make sure that it gets to us, and we are trying to be responsive.
So it'll be more of an aggregated data that you'll get. You're not going to get specific data like Johnny.
We're not. There's no Tony. It was just an aggregate data that, there's no specific person or name. We would not know who did the information, all that stuff.
Okay. I agree with Commissioner Calosa. I think if you can give us even a progress, maybe in 6 months, a progress report of where this is going and how it's going, and then obviously a one-year report to see if this is something we're going to continue and implement.
Yeah, we'd love to, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I agree, Commissioner Garcia, in terms of the mid-contract report would be helpful. I wanted to ask Agile if, in fact, we've had any observations from the work done from Houston. You mentioned that they are currently providing a service to Houston. Any observations from the Houston implementation of the service?
Mari, you want to answer that?
I'm not familiar with that. Do you have any more information on that, John?
Sure. We've talked to Amanda Daffos from Mayor's office and us. We've looked at the other cities. Houston has been extremely satisfied. They're using it widely for almost more than a year, I think, by now. And they are really seeing this as a great tool for the city to better serve. So the feedback we have is good.
Good.
But, we wanted to try it ourselves, and the
Sure.
Innovation Committee is looking at this as a way to improve services. So we're looking at it ourselves to get it firsthand how it applies to LA. But Houston's experience has been good, and the feedback we have is this is a very good tool and service that's enhancing their services.
Great. And there can be an advantage in terms of having a person collecting data who is external and extrinsic to our organization, and they are in a position oftentimes to bring a fresh outside approach to what we're looking for in terms of positive change. However, our circumstance obviously is different than Houston's, and I anticipate when you get the reports that we will then be able to confirm that their input has been a positive asset to what we are seeking to do. So I do think that that is a potentially positive point, that we are getting someone who can look from across the street in terms of the data collecting for us to use. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Thank you, Mr. Haj Khalil and Ms. Lovano as well. Commissioner Garcia, any other questions? Nope. Okay. No other questions on the queue inside the boardroom. Is there a motion on agenda item by Commissioner Villegas on agenda item number 9? I'll second it along with Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or nay on this one?
I'm a yay.
Okay. Then without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 9. Thank you, Adele and Mara, both on number 9. Any issue sending number 9 forthwith? We'll send number 9 forthwith. Let's move to agenda item number 5, Office of Community Beautification, request for proposals, graffiti removal services. Recommending that the board, and first of all, do we have Mr. Roch? I see you online, Mr. Roch. You're available now?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes. One moment, I'll call the item. Dr. Campos, do we have any speakers in the queue?
We do have one speaker, Ms. Jennifer Pope McDowell, that's signing in.
Okay.
Jennifer, would you like to unmute your mic?
She's from the mayor's office?
She is from the mayor's office. She is now not online anymore.
Okay. I think she was just listening to the meeting.
She may be just listening in.
Yeah, I don't think she's in the speaker queue.
Yes.
Okay.
So no speakers.
All right, no speakers. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, request for request for proposals. Graffiti. Now the world knows what Ms. McDowell's up to. Request for proposals, graffiti removal services. Recommending that the board first authorize the Office of Community Beautification, that's OCB, to release a request for proposals, that's RFP, for graffiti removal services throughout the city of Los Angeles. Secondly, authorize the staff of OCB to evaluate proposals based upon the requirements and procedures set forth in the RFP. And third, authorize the director of OCB to negotiate personal services contracts with the highest rated and most responsive agencies, subject to approval of the Board of Public Works, as stated in the agenda there. We don't have any speakers in the queue. Mr. Roch, we'll start with you on agenda item number 5.
Okay, hello and good afternoon. It's good to see everybody. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. OCB oversees and administers graffiti removal contracts throughout the city of Los Angeles. We've been doing so since the program was implemented in 1989. Currently, OCB contracts with 11 nonprofit, community-based organizations and one privately owned graffiti removal company for citywide graffiti removal services. Last year, under contract with the Office of Community Beautification, these contractors removed 25.3 million square feet of graffiti from 460,000 locations throughout the city of Los Angeles. As a quick side note, these graffiti removal crews are still out there on a daily basis, going through the streets of Los Angeles and providing graffiti removal services even in these particular times. The last time that a request for proposal for graffiti removal was released was in 2013. So today we're requesting board approval to release a new graffiti removal RFP for contracts that would take effect in fiscal year 2020-21. Services would include regular geographic graffiti removal, strike force graffiti removal, and specialty graffiti removal. I know as part of the package there was that was included. There are two modifications to that RFP that I want to point out. The first one would be in section 3 in the invoice and payment section of the RFP. We are adding a sentence after the payment amount stating that monthly payments would be made on a flat fee based upon 1/12 of the contract. We're going to be adding a sentence that states the negotiated price of the contract shall be based on a contractor maintaining and deploying a minimum number of graffiti removal personnel, and that the failure to do so shall result in a contractor receiving reduced payments for any period in which the minimum staffing levels are not met. And secondly, I know that the RFP mentioned the due date of May the 1st. I'd like to push that back 1 week to May the 8th, just because we're getting it out a little bit later than we anticipated. So just in order to give respondents an extra week, especially in these particular times, we would request that the date that it's due would be May 8th rather than May the 1st. We will be returning to the board then probably sometime in June with specific recommendations for contractors and contractor amounts. Thank you all for your attention to this item. I am available for any questions that commissioners may have.
Okay, Paul, this is a big deal. I mean, as you mentioned, this hasn't been done since 2013, and I'm trying to remember. You're taking us back to the beginning of our time here. Was that done before our administration started or right as we started?
The RFP was done before the Garcetti administration came in, and then those contracts were executed for the first time right as you guys were all coming in as commissioners in July of 2013.
Okay.
But the actual RFP was, in the period of like May, June of 2013.
Okay, yeah, we started July 31, 2013. Our first hearing date was that day. We were confirmed a bit earlier, but let's go to Commissioner Garcia first.
Sure. I have a couple of things. One is I want to publicly thank our graffiti abatement workers for going out there and working even through this time. And here we're about to actually put out a request for proposals. So the ones that are currently on contract, I want to just give them a publicly thankful because they're doing a lot of work out there. Second, Paul, can you give us just a really quick, brief overview? Why did it take so long? It's been now, 7-8 years that we went out for RFP, just to put it on the record, because I know a lot of contractors have been asking for this.
Yes. So the reason it took us, a couple extra years was because we did kind of get wrapped up in the prevailing wage issue a couple of years ago, and it was determined that graffiti removal services would be adherent to the state's prevailing wage, and that did increase the cost that.
One moment, Mr. Jordan.
I'm going to let Paul finish, but I had a separate comment I wanted to make, and I wasn't sure how to get myself in the queue.
Well, you did it by way.
Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got you. So we'll go back to Paul, and then when you finish that thought, Paul, go ahead and finish. We'll go to Mr. Jordan and then come back to you.
Okay, so yeah, just very quickly to wrap up, because of the prevailing wage issue, that did set us back a couple of years as the city went about figuring out how we were going to, manage that budget-wise and the other particular ways. So those issues have been worked out, and we are moving forward with an RFP that would require all of our contractors to adhere to prevailing wage, and they have been doing so for the past year and a half as well.
Okay, Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, and let me just second that, Commissioner. We worked with OCB on that. It was a fairly complex matter, so that was the reason for some of that delay. What I wanted to bring up, though, was a separate issue, which I'm taking a look at the RFP right now, and it does say that the proposals will be due to be received by 4 p.m. at the 200 North Spring Street office. I know elsewhere in the city, departments are making special provisions for the receipt date of RFPs, so that in some cases they're advising responders that they have to be postmarked on a certain date, or they're providing other means so that the proposers don't need to physically come in, given the COVID-19 restrictions. So I may recommend that the staff take a look at that and make any adjustments that they think are necessary to minimize any kind of additional exposures.
Understood. Do we need an...
Thank you for that, Ted. We've already been looking at different ways, whether we could accept a scanned copy of an RFP, or we need them mailed in and just postmarked by the particular date.
Okay.
We are also looking at doing a workshop at which we would ask questions, and that's probably going to have to be something that we would set up online as well.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one. If I see that you have a pre-proposal activity meeting, you might want to change that into a online Zoom meeting or something like that.
Right. I think that there was some mention in there that it could be online in the RFP. I think we put that in.
Okay.
If not, we're definitely going to, because it's going to have to be in online.
Yes, it is. What I see here is that to come to City Hall, so I would say you might want to send different instructions now.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Dr. Campos, do you anticipate an amendment for that? We've got a couple of amendments I'm going to have in the queue here in a second.
Yes, I have 4 amendments so far, and I will also suggest a friendly amendment to the recommendation number 3 as well.
Okay. Well, let's get through some more questions, and then we'll go through the amendments one at a time.
Would you like me to list the amendments at this
Not
point?
yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Any questions before we get to proposed amendments? Commissioner Davis.
I was going to elaborate.
To your mic, Mike.
I was going to elaborate on the concern about
I'm sorry.
the COVID challenges we have. And obviously, our city attorney has identified some of the measures that might be important in submitting the RFP. And I guess moving forward, it goes without saying that in terms of when we will start the contract and all of these issues that we currently are dealing with will certainly be among those issues of concern for Paul moving forward. And to that end, I was going to ask Paul, these workers who are doing this work, anticipating that they might be able to start in July, these workers are considered mandatory workers in our environment. In other words, this is a very necessary service in terms of infrastructure work done for the city of Los Angeles. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And we have made some adjustments to the graffiti removal program to protect the graffiti removal workers as much as we can. One of the things that we have done is they have stopped utilizing community service workers at this time.
Okay.
So that has had an impact on the overall amount of graffiti that they're able to necessarily provide, but The way of doing business before COVID-19 was they would get 3 or 4 or 5 community service workers, pile them together into 1 or 2 pickup trucks and go out and have several people doing graffiti removal. For safety reasons, they're not doing that anymore. They're maintaining 1 worker per vehicle, just as a way of keeping that social distance. So that has affected a little bit of their performance. They are keeping up with the requests for service and getting most of those completed within a timely manner. I have been talking with the mayor's office, with Jennifer and Commissioner Garcia, about ways that we may be able to supplement the graffiti removal workers with perhaps some other crews from the LA Conservation Corps, or perhaps even with some disaster service workers. So we are looking into various options to see what we may be able to do to help keep those levels of service where they need to be, and at the same time provide safety for all those that are providing those services.
Well, I guess if it's not one challenge in terms of policy, it's another in terms of health, in terms of this environment that we find ourselves in. I would just conclude by saying we'll just keep our fingers crossed, because I know that the young people who work in the program, at least by July, will certainly heavily anticipate having some income in addition to the work that they do and the fulfillment that they get from having a positive impact in our city with the work that they do in removing graffiti. So thank you very much for sharing with us the work that you've been engaged in helping to improve this project, and we anticipate that, again, we'll be able to move forward, hopefully in July.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thanks, Paul, and OCB's work on this RFP. Is it possible for you to give us just an overview of some high-level items where what stayed the same or what changed from this RFP, from the last one that you had, since we only get to revisit this, every 6 years or so? It would be good to kind of understand what's changed and what stayed the same.
Well, yeah, and typically we do try to release an RFP, a little more than every 6 or 7 years, Really, the main change that has occurred in here is the prevailing wage language that is now included in the RFP, and the adherence that the contractors have to do to adhere to prevailing wage, not only in rates that they pay to their field workers, but also what they have to do sort of on an administrative side, which includes submitting certified payroll records to Bureau of Contract Administration on a weekly basis. So that really is the main change from previous RFPs, is just the included language of all the prevailing wage requirements that they would need to adhere to.
Okay. A question I had too, just keeping and remembering some of the issues that were raised over the past year around quality control. It was around paint matching. How will past performance be taken into account for this new round?
Yeah, you kind of broke up, so I had a little difficulty in
Just
hearing
about.
the question. I think
Did you hear? She asked about what effect past performance would have in this second or in this more recent RFP. Is that correct, Commissioner Caloza?
Yeah, I just want to be mindful. I know you mentioned that it sounds like there's been only one major change around prevailing wage, and that we are taking into account feedback that we've received, and how do we really make sure to track the performance and metrics of how our contractors are performing, and to really make sure that we have the right things in the RFP to be able to enforce that if there's performance issues.
Yes. Past performance is definitely included in the RFP and something we look at. not only past performance, perhaps working under Office of Community Beautification, but if any of these contractors had any other contracts that they service as well, we also reach out to any of those agencies. A few of our contractors have graffiti removal contracts with the County of Los Angeles as well. So part of our whole process is them submitting their references and us checking those out. So I appreciate that comment.
So just to dig into that a little bit more, are we looking at are we evaluating our current contractors now if they reapply for this new round so that we have that context and background, or are we just checking references? But it sounds like from my experience with OCB, you guys, have a really good pulse about who all the organizations are, and but I just really want to understand the performance and metrics piece, and that's really built into how we administer the program.
So yeah, OCB does definitely on a regular basis monitor the work of the contracts on several different levels. First off, OCB staff does go out and do drive-throughs of the different areas on a regular basis and writes up those reports. We keep copies of the reports in the office and also submit that feedback to the contractors. Based on the look of the areas that they service, checking on the quality of the work that they do, on the lack of graffiti in an area. We also regularly monitor their work through the MyLA 311 system, just to check, that they are removing graffiti that is requested in a timely manner, that they're not allowing requests to remain open for a long amount of time. And then we also do go out, look at some of the locations that were requested and that the contractors report they've completed, just to double confirm that the work was done and was done in a quality manner.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. In terms of just the piece that you're talking about in terms of monitoring, one of the items that was brought up the past year was how it's reported in terms of the graffiti abatement. There was some discussion about taking photos of the graffiti abatement. Is that something that is part of this RFP? I say that just because that's a common requirement that we have at the city for other things that we track, whether it's a parking ticket or repairing a pothole, using photo evidence as a way to collect the metrics is just one of the ways I know that the city is continuing to track the different services that we provide.
So yes, photos are included, not for every single instance of graffiti, primarily just because of the amount of time that it would take to download those photos or save them on a drive or something. So it's not every single location, but OCB staff does take photos. Photos can be submitted by residents who report graffiti in the MyLA 311 system. So we do have a number of before and after photos. The contractors have been instructed on what is useful to law enforcement, primarily LAPD, as far as taking photos and when a particular tag in an area seems to have some investigative value to the police department, then the contractors do take before and after photos of that as well. OCB staff goes into court on a fairly regular basis and does provide testimony when somebody is arrested for vandalism, and obviously photos are always helpful in those cases as well. So as much as possible, we do want our contractors taking photos. It's a way for them to show the work that they've done. And so there are a number of photos that are in the MyLA 311 database.
Thank you for that explanation. I would like to see a clear plan from OCB and how they're going to require photos, whether that is a percentage of the abatements that happen per contractor. You know, right now, and I need to look specifically more at the RFP language if it's in there. If it's just something that sounds like it's optional for the contractors, I really think that we should actually be more specific and have what our requirements are there, whether it's, 50% or 40%, whatever it is, but just so it's not unclear that it's, if you want to, you can take a picture or, and I don't certainly want to just leave it up to your staff, since you guys are also doing a number of projects, but really, they're the ones that we're paying to carry out this service on behalf of the city. And I know that this program and your program will only continue to grow importance leading up to the Olympics, and especially right now, I think just, driving to City Hall, I think I've personally submitted a number of graffiti abatement requests just because people are at home and the streets are clear and there's less traffic. I've personally seen more graffiti in our streets that I've been submitting tickets on, and they've been getting cleared out, but it is something that I personally, that's just my own experience I'm noticing right now as we're going through this crisis. So I just wanted to make that one comment. Did you have something, Dr. Campos?
Yeah, Commissioner Caloza, I appreciate the question. I love the idea of quality control and customer service as well, looking at past performance with the contractors. If this board would like, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to recommendation number 3, and that is to authorize me, the executive officer or the designee, to lead the negotiations of the new contracts. We would
That's an amendment. I want to go through the amendments in the order in which I want to go through them.
Right. And I will keep that in mind in terms of key indicators of success, metrics, anything that would allow us to measure what the return on our investment would be from these contractors. Of course, working with the contractors or whomever the contractors we would recommend to get awarded, but we can work with them in terms of getting pricing, best pricing models, metrics, key performance indicators, getting an ROI, whether it's before and after pictures, anything that would allow us to substantiate what our contractors are doing for the city and what the city taxpayers are getting in return for their money. So I appreciate the question. I respect the line of questioning as well, and the quality control and the service and past performance of the contractors. I think all that is all relevant, and this is the right time to do it because we only get a chance every 5-6 years to do this. So this is the right time to do it. And if this board would like, we would
Fernando,
definitely keep that in mind.
sorry, can you get closer to the mic or speak into the mic, because it was very hard to hear. I think I heard most of it, but not everything.
Yes, Commissioner Garcia, for those that are listening online through Zoom, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, what I was just in brief indicating to Commissioner Caloza that I appreciated the line of questioning and the reasoning behind customer service and quality control, and also the past performance of our contractors. What I had proposed to the board is to authorize myself to lead the negotiation for these proposed contracts, so that basically would mean amending recommendation number 3 of the report so that we can keep the key metrics or the key indicators of success, looking at different metrics, ways that we can evaluate our contractors, looking at before and after pictures, doing an evaluation of what is our return on our investment as we pay our contractors in the future, and of course looking at pricing models, looking at different ways that we can provide the best quality service to our taxpayers, and then also get the best return on our investment for our taxpayer dollars.
Thank you. And what I mentioned, Commissioner Garcia, was that was a proposed amendment that I've been informed of, but I wanted to go through the amendments in a kind of an orderly way, 1 through 4. I mean, I wanted to start not with that one, but with a recommended. What's that?
Oh, I said I wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Caloza's not done yet. More questions.
No, it was just, sorry, I'm going to stop taking up the time, but no, I appreciate that. Thank you, Fernando, or Dr. Campos and President James for that. And, just I guess a final comment is I'm sure that City Council will also appreciate this additional analysis and building in of past performance and metrics into the contract, given that there are a number of contract amendments that happen specifically for graffiti abatement, that this is something that I'm sure they will find helpful as they use their discretionary monies to really, beautify their districts. And just the last comment, when you guys enter into negotiation, that I hope is looked at, the past contract, I believe we did lump sum, and I'm not sure what the discussion is for this new RFP, but hoping that that will turn into, a different payment model where it involves paying only for services that were completed for the city instead of lump sum payments. And I was done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Any other questions before I go through these 4 amendments, and that maybe end up being more than 4? Commissioner Garcia, are you good, ready to go through the amendments?
Yes, I want to hear the amendments again.
Okay, so let me start with one that I've got in front of me. I've got 2 in front of me and 2 that I suspect we're going to hear about that I don't have in front of me. I've got one that is from Mr. Roch regarding the request to amend RFP Section 3 in connection with monthly payments. Mr. Roch, you want to talk about that?
Yes. So in the RFP, as it states now, there's a section 3 invoice and payment. States contractors shall invoice the Office of Community Beautification for work performed on a monthly basis. Monthly payments shall be made on a flat fee based on 1/12 of the contract amount. Then we would propose to add the following sentence, that the negotiated price of the contract shall be based on a contractor maintaining and deploying a minimum number of graffiti removal personnel. Failure to do so shall result in a contractor receiving reduced payment for any period in which the minimum staffing levels are not met.
It's generally self-explanatory to me, Mr. Roch. You want to provide a further explanation, or do you think anyone is warranted?
Yeah, so I think, what we do when we do an RFP is we ask the contractors to provide us with the cost that it will cost them, say, to have 3 crews in the street as opposed to 5 crews or 7 crews or 10 crews. Just obviously, the more crews they have, the more they're able to sort of flatten out their administrative overhead costs. And so a contractor, might propose a cost of, a particular dollar amount that it would take them to run maybe 3 crews or 5 crews, but that per crew cost would go down if they're now getting more money to run, say, 10 crews, just because the administrative overhead would be less. But based on discussion with the mayor's office, they wanted us to tighten it up a little bit, and I do agree with this, that it's a good sentence to put in, that if they are funded on a particular per crew cost, then we do need to make sure that they are maintaining that level of crews that they agree to, and should they have a reduced number of crews for any reason, whether somebody leaves or is fired or whatever it might be, that for that period of time they would be paid less because they had less crews out working on the streets.
Okay.
The only added sentence that I would add to what Mr. Roch has mentioned, this is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, is to give the...
Wait a minute. Let me see if I've got any of our commissioners that have any questions on this, and then we'll take your recommended addition. Anybody? Nobody? Commissioner Garcia? Okay, Commissioner Caloza? Okay, Dr. Campos.
Yes, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The only thing I would add to what Mr. Roch has read into Section 3, in line with Commissioner Caloza's logic, is to add a sentence, other pricing models may be negotiated as proposed.
I'm sorry, slower. New sentence.
New sentence, in Section 3, other pricing models may be negotiated as proposed or identified. This would allow us the opportunity to negotiate any other type of models that the proposals may be coming in at. So, for example, we may be asking for fixed price, we may be asking for time and material. Depending on what the proposal would like to propose, then we can negotiate those. I don't want to wed ourselves into only a fixed cost pricing, and that's aligned with Commissioner Caloza's logic.
Mr. Jordan, did you have you wanted to step in on that? Mr. Jordan? Are you good?
Oh, yeah, I'm good, sorry.
Okay, I thought you gave us a hand
Raise the
raise.
hand.
Okay, so, I recognize, so if I understand, Dr. Campos, so we are providing, for lack of a better term, I'm sorry, it's what comes to mind, some fluidity at the, regarding what pricing structure we end up following based on what we receive.
Correct.
I'm okay with that. Commissioner Caloza?
No, I think that, it would be great to see what other funding models there are there that gets us, the best return for our investment, as you mentioned, whether that's, on time and material, what have you. I'd like for us to explore that.
Okay. Mr. Roch, any thoughts on that?
I'm fine with that. That is how way back in time we used to pay, and we did find that it cost us quite a bit more to pay that way. Things could be a little bit different or not with updated prevailing wage, but I think it's a good idea to give us some flexibility and look at those different pricing models. I don't have a problem with including that in the RFP at all.
Because we still have, if I understand you correctly, Dr. Campos, we still have the option to stay with the let's call the traditional method.
The current payment.
The current pay method. Okay. Then I'm okay with that. Commissioner Garcia?
I'm okay with it as long as we have it clear and straight before the webinar, because those folks that are going to apply are going to want to know how they're going to get paid before they apply. So if it's from now until April 9th, we need to get clarification of how that's going to happen.
Is that something, Dr. Campos, that
That's
can be?
fair enough, yes.
Okay. So Dr. Campos is agreeing with that, Commissioner Garcia. I think we all are.
Okay.
Okay, so then that will call that amendment number 1 because it's what Mr. Roch recommended combined with what Dr. Campos just recommended. So we'll call that number 1. So, Mr. Jordan, are you okay with amendment number 1? Mr. Jordan?
Yes, sorry,
Okay.
I had to unmute.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Okay, so we've got
It
number.
gives us the flexibility.
Great. So we're going to have number 1 on the table. We'll call that the payment structure amendment. Okay, Dr. Campos, do I have 2 other amendments now to consider or 3 other amendments based on what your scorecard?
You have 4 other amendments.
4 other amendments. They keep growing. I've got one on my table that I want to, before I go to this one, I want to know what other ones you're proposing. The one regarding the executive officer or a designee to negotiate the personal services contracts, I want to hold that one depending on what we have also on the scorecard. So what else do we have?
Okay. The next amendment that I heard was changing the RFP due date to May 8th, 2020.
Okay, that'll be we'll call that the revision of the date amendment. Is everybody okay with that one? So we're not voting on it other than just putting it on the list. So that's okay with everybody? Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan, that's okay? Moving it to May 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the date amendment. Okay, what's the next one you have, Dr. Campos?
The third amendment is indicating in the RFP of the virtual pre-bid platform for the pre-proposal meeting.
Okay, that's the pre-bid platform. The virtual meeting you're talking about?
Correct. I believe the RFP currently indicates the City Hall, so we would provide a virtual platform for
And that's the
folks to call
webinar
in.
that Commissioner Garcia is discussing, right, Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I think that's a good amendment to put on the table as well. So we have that one. We may be able to vote on all these in a package. But, okay, what's next?
That's number 3. Number 4 is to provide an alternate delivery method for the proposal receipt. Currently, the RFP indicates City Hall, as suggested by our council, is to provide an alternative method for folks that want to submit it in via mail, FedEx, UPS, or other delivery method.
Okay.
I'm sorry, President James,
Yep.
to interrupt, but Fernando, can you say that again? It was choppy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when you move around, we can't hear you, but if you speak directly to the mic, we're good.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to change mics right now. I have 3 mics next to me, so I'm going to change mics and see if that changes the quality of my sound, or maybe the clarity of my voice will come through better. So amendment number 4 is to provide an alternate delivery method for proposal receipt. Is this better, Commissioner Garcia?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Jordan, are you okay with that?
Yes,
Ted, can I ask you a question real quick?
you may.
Would we be allowed to accept like scanned or online proposals, or do they have to be like an original proposal that, has the original signature or anything like that?
Well, the city has been working on a process more broadly to accept electronic bids. I believe we could do that if you want. You could have them be scanned and sent in. You could have them be mailed in. So you have a variety of options. We can talk about that offline if you like. But I think there should be something more than just physical delivery.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, this is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. I believe the Mayor's Office Procurement Officer is working on potential memo clarification or a policy document that would allow us to accept proposals electronically or through an alternative source. So we expect that memo or that instructions directive, whether it be some sort of a set of instructions or document, probably within the next week or two.
Okay, anything to add to that, Mr. Jordan?
No. I think we'll have a lot of flexibility on how to take these proposals when they come in.
I would agree. Okay, thank you. Dr. Campos, are those all the amendments with the exception of what I'll call the remaining amendment, which is the negotiating team?
Those are, yes. Yes, those are.
Okay. Then, colleagues, could we vote on the existing amendments that we have before us right now, and we'll take the negotiating team amendment separately? That would be my motion. Is there a second on that, Commissioner Villegas? So my motion is that we adopt the 4 amendments that have been described. We've got the payment amendment, the date amendment, the virtual webinar amendment, and the receipt of the RFP proposals amendment. Those are the 4. And so we got a yes by Commissioner Garcia. So it's my motion to adopt those amendments along with, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Without objection. And Commissioner Garcia, is that a yay that you're signaling?
Yes, I'm saying yay and I second it.
Okay, both. Okay, so thank you. So that'll take care of that. Dr. Campos, now let's move to the amendment that you discussed a moment ago in the questioning from Commissioner Caloza regarding the personnel to negotiate the personal services contracts.
Absolutely. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. So the proposal before you is to modify recommendation number 3 on the board. Instead of authorizing the Director of Community Beautification, is to change that to authorize the Executive Officer or the designee to negotiate the contracts.
The reason, Commissioner Garcia?
Oh, this is the first I hear that. I just want to know the reason.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason behind this is just to make sure that we're capturing all the ideas and suggestions made by Commissioner Caloza. In addition to that, I have been working with the Office of Community Beautification on different pricing models and also delineating services between graffiti abatement versus other community beautification services. Our current contract actually combines both these services, so I wanted to bifurcate those. In addition to that, metrics and performance measurements are things that I'm looking at in the negotiation. So to the extent that we can build those into the contract that will be presented before your board, I believe that it would be beneficial to have me part of that negotiation team. Again, if their commission does not want that, I respectfully withdraw that, but just a friendly reminder.
So, well, you said you just added something to that, Dr. Campos. You said part of the negotiating team, because what I hear you, I don't think I have a problem per se, although I think, Mr. Roch, did you negotiate the personal services contracts back in 2013?
Yes. We have, and yes. The answer is yes.
Okay, so I think that we've got added expertise here that Dr. Campos has put on the table. And he referenced a team, so I would at least put on the table for discussion, and then I'll go to Commissioner Davis, that Dr. Campos be authorized to negotiate the personal services contracts, provided that Mr. Jordan says that that's okay, along with Mr. Roch on his team. And I would go to Commissioner Davis.
So I think, is this a pilot project that we're doing it? Two, as we look at the directors and the authority that they have to do personal contracts, are we open to consider this for other departments as well in terms of personal contracts, in terms of our goals that we seek to achieve?
Closer to your microphone, Commissioner Davis.
I was pondering a couple of issues to think about here. One, as we look at the authority of the directors to work on negotiating contracts, that's one issue. And then secondly, how do we perceive the time limit of this arrangement? Is it limited? Is it a pilot project? Is it permanent? In terms of this, I guess, a consensual decision-making process.
It's only being proposed for this RFP.
Got it. Okay, and so.
It's not a policy of the department.
Right. And I'm just looking at that, and these are some of the issues to ponder before we vote on this. And do we do this, and can we do this? I guess we can do this.
Well, we'll ask Mr. Jordan on that, but.
Yeah, I guess we can do this in other departments as well on issues that we think that we want to achieve a certain goal in the best interest of the organization.
Well, I don't know if it's that we're looking for a certain, my thought, I'm not specifically looking for a goal. I guess the goal is to get the best proposals in the door that we possibly can. What I recognized was the ability of the executive officer to participate as a partner with the head of OCB. I recognize we haven't had that in the past, but we also have...
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just pondering, can he also do this in the future on other things? It's not on the table.
It's not on the table, and it's not on the agenda.
But it's something for us to think about.
You can think about it, sir. Commissioner Caloza. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah, I agree with if this is going to be something as added value, meaning that for many years Paul has been doing this. He has the full expertise on doing this. So I would want to keep how it is on the board report, which is Paul doing the negotiations. However, I do see an added value with Fernando being part of it. I would see as both being part of it. And that would be my recommendation for this.
Okay, Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification, and maybe our executive officer can respond to this. Seeing that the contract is going to be with 11 nonprofits, is your involvement with this going to help us expedite any kind of like payments or like delays for any of these nonprofits?
Yes, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The involvement would not address the issue of payment processing at this time. It's just more of the terms and conditions of the overall contract as a whole. I cannot make the assumption that it will be with the 11 contractors. I don't know who will be submitting the contract or the proposals. In the past, we have received proposals from the nonprofit world. We've also received contracts or proposals from the private sector as well. So I'm curious to see what we will get this time around and how the pricing models may be different. Also administratively, how we can accept and accelerate the invoice processing. The board continuously looks at amending the contracts every time we make a modification either to a service, as long as the nature of the work stays the same, or if we're adding more money to the contract. Paul and his shop, or the Office of Community Beautification, does come to the board and ask for continuous and frequent amendments to the contract. So I'd like to explore ways on how we can reduce that administrative burden. So I believe that's the value that I bring to the table. Yeah. Again, it's only a proposal. If this board believes that or feels that Office of Community Beautification is the best suited person to negotiate the contract, I'm perfectly fine with withdrawing that friendly amendment.
Thank you. I'm also in support of what Commissioner Garcia was saying, just having both of you being able to have eyes on this contract and seeing what, since it hasn't been done since 2013, I think it'd be a good opportunity, just maybe for lessons learned or other things that we could do differently. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. I've got a question for our city attorney, Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan, are you there?
Yes.
I can see you, sir. I see that you're a Cal Bear fan today.
Go Bears.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want the record to be clear. I think the board has the authority and the discretion to add Dr. Campos on the negotiating team with Mr. Roch. Am I correct in that we have the discretion and the authority to do so if we want?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So I think I heard Commissioner Davis.
Okay, so how does this work? Let's say, one says one thing, the other one says the other. I guess it comes back to the board.
I would recommend that I just withdraw my friendly amendment. I think having one lead negotiator, I think there's value in having a negotiating team. However, at the end of the day, there has to be someone that makes that decision, that accountable agent. So I would respectfully withdraw my amendment.
Well, but now you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Because here's what, I think that's a fair question, Commissioner Davis. Let me tell you what I've seen happen, generally. And this isn't just related to contracting and making these decisions. We regularly have teams that decide RFP responses. As a matter of fact, I think it's probably the rule much more than the exception that we have a team do it. Now, your question is a very valid question, Commissioner Davis, which is what happens if we have an impasse and we have a team of 2, as opposed to a team of 3 or a team of 5?
Correct.
I'm very, very interested in Dr. Campos's proposed amendment because I always think that an extra set of eyes are good, even to Mr. Roch's point. I mean, it could be complementary to the work he's doing. So what do we do when we have an impasse? Let's say if we have an impasse. I don't expect that we would, but if we do, because the proposals are going to be there, they're going to be rated by each of these professionals that work both in this area.
But if we did?
But if we did, I do think you've already answered the question, and I think you've answered it in your question. You said, well, would that come back to the board? Okay. I think that in that instance, if there are areas, because there are some areas, many of them where they may agree. If we have an area or 2 or 3 where they don't agree, I think those matters can be brought to the board for resolution. The benefit that we get, though, is the transparency in the process, and we get an extra set of eyes that carries the title of the executive officer of the Board of Public Works, along with the director of the Office of Community Beautification.
Well, I will say that we already had transparency, but what we will have rather is a check and a balance. But what I would like to see, this idea be a pilot project. Let's see how it works.
Fair enough. What I would add to the transparency, and I think you pointed out that I wasn't as clear as I should have been. When I said, what I mean by added transparency, I mean is these proposals are reviewed generally in private, obviously. But if there's an impasse, Commissioner Davis, and it has to come before the board, that's the added transparency that wouldn't otherwise exist. Commissioner Garcia.
No, I agree. I actually like the idea of having 2 folks. Maybe it's something that Paul leads the effort, and if there's some type of obviously Fernando is the extra eyes on it. I like the team effort on it. So that would be my recommendation. Again, I stand still with my recommendation, both or keep it as is.
Okay, Commissioner Caloza.
I would agree as well, and think that it would be great, thanks to Dr. Campos for taking on additional work, is really what he did in helping review these proposals. It's in the grand scheme of all the contracts that we issue at the city, it's not a fairly large program, but it is in terms of its importance to the community, in terms of its importance to city council, and just, it's one of these programs that everybody sees day in and day out, and I don't think it would hurt to have, as what everyone has already echoed, an extra set of eyes to really make sure that we are running the best program possible.
If I could just add one thing in
yes,
here,
please.
too, just for clarification. So the way that it works is, and I welcome Fernando to join us, absolutely. I would have no problem with with it stating, executive officer and director of the Office of Community Beautification. I don't really review the actual proposals and give them scores or anything like that. We utilize OCB staff and sometimes other public works staff to do the initial assessment.
Yeah, you're talking
of,
about contract negotiating.
the bids, and then they give those grades. Then at that point they come to me, or now me and Fernando, and we would kind of look at those, double check to make sure that they made sense, and then if any negotiations need to occur with any of the contractors as to how many crews they would be able to put out for a particular dollar amount, that's really where that step comes in. So it's not really about necessarily reviewing the bids as they just come in. That really is handled sort of by other public works staff and OCB staff, and then it's sort of that secondary step of crossing the T's, dotting the I's, et cetera, then bringing our recommendations to the board for approval.
Yeah, so thank you, Paul. That was my bad. I created that confusion. So, but that raises another issue that's very important to Commissioner Davis's point a moment ago. You're right. We're talking about the contract negotiation aspect, not the proposal review aspect. And the contract negotiation review aspect, if there is an impasse, and Mr. Jordan, I'm coming to you with this question. The Board of Public Works, as you made clear, commissioners can't negotiate contracts. So I don't think that we could be the solution to the impasse. So my question for you, Mr. Jordan, would be, recognizing that we are leaning towards designating two people as the contract negotiators, what would you recommend to resolve an impasse? Should we add a third contract negotiator, or, because I want more than one, so should we add a third, or should we come up with a process today on breaking the impasse, for example, going to our general counsel or something like that?
Well, no, I don't think I would be necessarily the right one to break an impasse, because these things are often
Mayor's office?
come down to more business decisions. If I look at the bureaus and how they're structured, each of our 5 bureaus has a bureau director. So when there's an impasse with staff, ultimately the buck stops with the bureau director. So you're right, though, the board, individual commissioners couldn't really break any kind of impasse, but if there was something where each of your 2 negotiators, had a different view on something, that could be brought to the board, and then there would be an open discussion. But I don't think that's necessarily.
Okay. So you're saying we can do it. Then I like that. Then I like that process. Okay.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you might be bringing matters before the board in an open meeting while you're in the process of negotiating the contracts, and that's typically not how we do contract negotiations.
Yeah, that just means that our 2 superior negotiators have an incentive to try and work it out.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'm willing to take the risk on that aspect and see how it works. So that my recommendation, my motion on this amendment would be to revise agenda item number 5-3 to say authorize the director of the Office of Community Beautification and the executive officer of the Board of Public Works to negotiate personal services contracts with the highest rated and most responsive agencies, subject to approval from the Board of Public Works, period. This next sentence. If there is an impasse between the contract negotiators, such impasse shall be resolved before the Board of Public Works, period. Is that a second, Commissioner Davis? Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Garcia, anything on this while you're there?
No, I agree.
Okay. Anything else?
Actually, can I say one more thing? Ted, usually when there's a disagreement, we usually have maybe one of the commissioners in a hearing. Would this
No.
apply for that? No? Okay.
No.
Hey, just asking.
That's okay,
This is
it's a good question.
contracts.
The answer is no.
So that'll come to before the Board of Public Works. Okay, so that the amendment as stated, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection to the amendment? Without objection, Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or a nay?
Yay.
A yay. Thank you. Congratulations to both Mr. Roch and Dr. Campos on the amendment for negotiating. So with all the amendments that we've elected, now let's take the item as amended. My motion is that we adopt agenda item number 5 as amended. Seconded by Commissioners Villegas and Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Garcia. Any objection? Without objection, Commissioner Garcia was the second, so I don't need to call her yay vote. Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We will send number 5 forthwith. Thank you, everyone. Agenda item number 6 is a requested contract acceptance. Council Districts 4, 8, and 10. Arlington Avenue and Jefferson Boulevard Diversion Sewer, Jefferson Boulevard, Budlong to Gramercy, Primary Sewer Rehabilitation, and Wilshire Area Olympic Sewer Rehabilitation. Recommending that the board accept the contract. Dr. Campos, do we have any speakers on the queue on number 6?
Just give me 1 second. We do not.
Okay, Mr. Ollinger on number 6.
John Ollinger, Bureau of Contract Administration. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here to ask for your acceptance on the Arlington Avenue and Jefferson Boulevard, Budlong to Gramercy Primary Sewer Rehabilitation, and Wilshire Area Olympic Sewer Rehabilitation. The work orders for the project was SZC 12484 and SCC 1290 and SCC 11741. This contract was executed by your board on October 28, 2015 in the amount of $3,266,076. Construction was completed under Colich & Sons LP on May 30th, 2018. The project consisted of construction of a diversion structure and junction structures on a 42-inch diameter brick sewer, sewer rehabilitation of 16-inch, 20-inch, and 27-inch clay and brick sewer lines, along with a maintenance hole structure construction. The contractor has complied with the equal employment opportunity and labor compliance requirements of the contract. There were no funds disputed or withheld, therefore no funds are due to the contractor. There are no unresolved property owners' complaints in connection with this project. Were there any questions?
Any questions at all from Mr. Ollinger on number 6? Commissioner Garcia, any questions? Commissioner
No questions from me.
No questions, okay. No questions here. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6, seconded by Commissioner Caloza and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or a nay on number 6?
Yay.
Okay. So without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending number 6 forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Number 7 is a contract acceptance. Council Districts 4 and 13 for the Secondary Sewer Renewal Program, Melrose Avenue and Wilton Place, recommending that the board accept the contract. Without speakers in the queue on number 7, we'll go to Mr. Ollinger on number 7.
Good afternoon, John Ollinger, Bureau of Contract Administration. I'm here to ask for your acceptance on the Secondary Sewer Renewal Programs H22 Melrose Avenue and Wilton Place. The work order was ZC 13095 and the contract number was C128656. The contract was executed by your board on December 2nd, 2016 in the amount of $2,262,739. Construction was completed under Facil Inc. on June 13th, 2018. The project consisted of rehabilitation of approximately 3.1 miles of sewer lines to upgrade the structural capability and to correct various deficiencies in the sewer collection system. The project is located in the northeast Wilshire area. The contractor has complied with the equal employment opportunity and labor compliance requirements of the contract. There were no funds disputed or withheld, therefore no funds are due to the contractor. There are no unresolved property owners' complaints in connection with this project. Were there any questions on this?
Any questions for Mr. Ollinger? I don't have any questions. Commissioner Garcia, are you good?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Any issue sending 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Agenda item number 12, colleagues, has been requested. This is a GSD item. GSD has sent word to us during our virtual meeting that they will have someone here if we move this to Tuesday, which is our next scheduled meeting. So, Dr. Campos, if we could, without objection, we'll move number 12 to our agenda for Tuesday.
Tuesday, March 31st.
Correct, Tuesday, March 31st for number 12. That takes us to number 1. Number 1 is a approval of meeting minutes from our meeting our last meeting was Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from that date? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay on that?
Yay.
Okay. That'll approve our meeting minutes for March 17th, and that was agenda item number 1. Dr. Campos, are we still clear on the call queue?
Yes, that's correct. No one in.
Okay, then we'll go to agenda item number 2. Mr. Kawaguchi, are you present?
Yes, President James, good afternoon.
Great. 1 second. Let me call the item, and then we'll come back to you. Agenda item number 2, sole source equipment for a bridge home project. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to sole source equipment for the bridge home projects. Mr. Kawaguchi on number 2.
Good afternoon, President James, Commissioners, and board, Bureau heads. My name is Alan Kawaguchi. I'm with the Bureau of Engineering. I'm the Bureau's representative on the Mayor's Homeless Initiative. The city engineer is requesting the authority to sole source equipments for the bridge home projects that we have going to construction. Typically, when we do a project, we introduce a specifications, and they're more what we call performance-based. What we mean by performance-based would be, for example, an air conditioning unit. We would normally say how many tons of air it needs, how many cubic feet of air it needs to pass, and then the contractors would then go out and seek the lowest possible cost for it. What we're requesting is there's 25 items, and we work with General Services because they're going to be maintaining these facilities for them to try to standardize on the equipment so that they don't have to get a bunch of spare parts. Also, their staff is familiar with this type of equipment. It's also very local because we're looking at lead times, but it's mainly, I think, for maintenance ease in terms of having spare parts and tools, and that's what we're asking to request to have authority to sole source these 25 items. The items range from, air conditioning units to sleeping units to exhaust fans, lighting, all those items. That's, if you wanted, I didn't want to read off the entire list. I think it's there for you. If you have any questions.
I don't, but we will see if I have any on the queue. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, President James. Just a clarification on these sole source items. Is it you already have vendors for them, or you're, how is it that you're sole sourcing these, seeing that you have like 25 items on here?
These items are pieces of equipment, for example, like an air conditioning unit. It might be like we're saying is that instead of just calling out a general air conditioning unit, typically in our specs we'd say X brand or equal. We're now telling the contractors, can you please go out and find a York unit model 1024.
Got it.
Please
Okay.
buy a backflow preventer model
Got it.
XXX.
Okay, so
And then they would bid out to 3 firms, give us back the price.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the clarification. So let me just repeat what I just heard, just to make sure that I understood it. So for the bridge home projects, all of those will have the same equipment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, any questions on number 2?
No, pretty clear.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or nay on number 2?
Yay.
Okay. Then without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Mr. Kawaguchi, thank you, sir. Have a nice weekend. I should have been saying that to all of our Bureau reps today. But
Yes, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
But I forgot it was Friday. It's like all the days have run together right now. We don't know what day of the week it is. That moves us to agenda item number 3, Council District 11, Construction Services Contract, Task Order Solicitations, Capital Improvement Project for Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant, Biosolids Truck Loading Facility Fan and Ducting Procurement. recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to use the construction services contract. We call that Cisco, but that's the acronym, it's not the company, and to issue task work orders to the contractor for an amount not to exceed $750,000 for the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant Biosolids Truck Loading Facility Fan and Ducting Procurement Project. Dr. Campos, do we have anybody in the queue?
No, we do not.
Okay, Mr. Shaw on number 3. Are you there, Mr. Shaw?
Good afternoon, Nadir Shah, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. The Capital Improvement Project 2489 will be undertaken at the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant located in Council District number 11. The Hyperion's biosolid truck loading odor control facility consists of a network of foul air fans, ducting, dampers, and chemical scrubbers that ventilate and treat foul air from the truck loading facility. Recently, the facility's 2-fan began intermittently tripping due to high vibration and are showing signs of failure. The purpose of this project is to procure 2 radial fans, including motors and instrumentation, 10 dampers, and 2 actuators. These items would be installed under a separate capital improvement project 8173 titled Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant Truck Loading Facility Fan and Ducting Rehabilitation Installation Project. Due to the unstable state of existing fans, it is imperative that they are replaced before they fail, resulting in a violation of the plant's permit and may cause damage and or injury. To prevent this outcome, the Bureau of Engineering intends to issue negotiated task work orders through the Cisco contract to procure the necessary equipment. Now, carrying out this multi-stage process under a conventional bid and award process would be prohibitively time-consuming due to the 6-month lead time for the procurement of fans. With the conventional bid and award process, the fans cannot be procured until the design is completed, and therefore, thereafter, the 6-month procurement period will follow. Utilizing the Cisco contract will allow for accelerated procurement of the fans, dampers, and actuators during the design phase, which will facilitate the timely installation. In January 2020, the Program Review Committee approved a total construction budget of $750,000, including contingency for this project. It is recommended that the board authorize the city engineer to use the Cisco contract to issue task work orders to the contractor for an amount not to exceed $750,000 for this project.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Always helpful. And I don't have any questions. I don't know if my colleagues do. It just reminds me that we have Cisco, and you presented on a lot of them, Mr. Shaw, and Mr. Cirillo did too over the years. And he's I guess he signed this maybe, but has since retired in this crazy time in our world today. Any questions for Mr. Shaw? Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Villegas. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or a nay?
Yay.
Okay, so without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Mr. Shaw, thank you. Have a nice weekend. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. That takes us to agenda item number 4, Council Districts 4 and 13. Project delivery agreements, Glendale Boulevard, Hyperion Avenue Complex of Bridges Improvement Project, recommending that the board, pursuant to the revised Proposition 1B Local Bridge Seismic Retrofit Account Guidelines, adopt the project delivery agreement and delegate signature authority to the city engineer to execute the project delivery agreement between engineering and the California Department of Transportation for the Glendale Boulevard, Hyperion Avenue Complex of Bridges Improvement Project. Dr. Campos, we don't have anybody in the speaker queue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Ms. Lau on number 4.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
This is Shirley Lau with the Bureau of Engineering, Bridge Improvement Division. The report before you is relative to the Glendale Hyperion Complex of Bridges project, where we have seismic retrofitting of 4 consecutive bridges, namely the Hyperion Avenue over LA River, the Hyperion Avenue over Riverside Drive, southbound Glendale Boulevard over LA River, and northbound Glendale Boulevard over LA River. The overall project, 88.53% of the funding will come from the Federal Highway Bridge Program, and there's a local match required, and that 11.47% will come from the state's Proposition 1B Local Bridge Seismic Retrofit Account. So this Proposition 1B was approved by California voters in 2006, specifically to be the local match for federally funded seismic retrofit work on local bridges. The state's California Transportation Commission adopted revised guidelines on October 9th, 2019, and that's attached to the report as Transmittal 1. And now they do require that local agencies with projects that have not advanced to the construction phase by the end of last year to execute a project delivery agreement. And so since this project is still in the final design stage and we are actually finalizing a property in the right-of-way phase, we're scheduled for construction in 2021. So in order to meet the revised Proposition 1B requirements to assure that this 11.47% funding from the state continues to be programmed for this project, the Bureau is requesting the board adopt the project delivery agreements attached in Transmittal number 2 and also delegate signature authority to the city engineer to execute these agreements. And that completes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lau, as always. Commissioner Garcia, any questions on number 4?
No, not at this time.
Okay, I don't see anybody else on the queue either. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4. Seconded by Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Caloza. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia, are you a yay or a nay?
I'm a yay.
Okay, any objection? So without objection on number 4, we'll adopt it. Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Ms. Lau, thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Let's go to agenda item number 8. Dr. Campos, is that all that we have left other than general public comment?
That is it, yes.
Okay, we don't have any speakers in the queue for number 8. So number 8's in Council District 11, contract revision, capital improvement project for Hyperion Water Reclamation Project, primary tanks, B0, B5, and C0 upgrades, Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant primary tank skimmer improvements, and the primary influent sluice gates. Recommending that the board revise the project contract award funding to reflect changes as shown on the agenda notice. And we have Mr. Shaw, who's still here, who will tell us what we're revising on number 8.
Yeah, Nader Shah, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. This motion is moved for the Capital Improvement Project 2445, Capital Improvement Project 2446, and Capital Improvement Project 2477, which was awarded on April 15, 2019 to Murray Company. This project will improve sludge conveyance system in the primary battery and upgrade the scum collection system. The purpose of this motion is that the funds allocated for each work order in the awarding board report that must be revised to match the contractor's actual bid proposal breakdown. This is important and required in order to not delay the processing of contractors' construction progress payments through the Office of Accounting. So there are 2 tables, Table 1 and Table 2 in the motion. The Table 1 was part of the original awarding board report, but it do not match with the contractor proposal, which is actually in the Table 2. There is no change in overall contract amount. It's just the distribution of the funding for each work order number. So this motion will make this correction and will enable the payments to the contractor through the Office of Accounting. So there is no change in the overall contract amount. This completes my report. I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. We're just getting our accounting codes in order, it sounds like. Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
No.
Okay, no other questions on the queue. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Villegas and Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Garcia, are you a yea or a nay?
Yay.
Okay, with any objection here? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Any issues sending number 8 forthwith? We'll send number 8 forthwith. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk other than general public comment?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then, do we have any speakers in the queue?
We do not.
Okay, then we will close general public comment. Before we adjourn, colleagues, I do want to say again a very special thank you to a few people. We're a large, complicated government, complex, I should say, government in the city of Los Angeles. I want to thank Dr. Campos and your team for all the good work that it took. Cairo is here, Truman, Tammy. I want to thank a shout out to Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Garcia participated in the run-through yesterday for at least a couple of hours as I popped in and out of that. Commissioner Garcia, thank you for that. ITA, Ted Ross stopped in a little while ago, took a photo of us operating today of our virtual meeting. I want to thank Ted and his team, Ms. Comer, very helpful at ITA. I want to thank Council Audio. They were very helpful to us as well. The City Council and the Office of the President, Councilwoman Nuri Martinez, were very helpful to us. Mayor's Office of City Services and the Mayor's Office of Legislative Affairs, Jennifer Pope McDowell, who made a brief appearance in the meeting today, and then Greg Good, who's our head of Legislative Affairs upstairs. So thank you, everyone, for the great team effort. TJ Knight, I see you, TJ. Thank you for your assistance and help along the way as well. And Mr. Jordan, thank you to the City Attorney's Office and to Streffen Fauble and you and your team. So that said, Dr. Campos, our next meeting currently is scheduled for Tuesday, March 31st at 10 a.m., correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so that's when we, unless we hear something else, when we're going to meet. Dr. Davis.
No, I just wanted to wish people a successful time, safe at home.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, so you said the meeting will be on Tuesday the 31st. Just Monday is a holiday, is it not?
Monday is a holiday.
Okay, so basically the next business day we'll have another meeting.
Correct. I did say Ms. Comer. Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Thank you. Great work. And anybody else? And Dawn was here for hours yesterday, so thank you. It was it went very well. We all appreciate the work of ITA and our team. So, Dr. Campos, we are. Ted raises a good question. Are we able to be ready for a meeting on Tuesday with the fact that Monday's a holiday?
We will be able to post today.
Okay.
We're just pending one motion that I need a draft for.
Okay. I think we're good. Thank you for that point, Ted. I think we'll be okay. So thank you, everyone. We are hereby adjourned. Have a nice weekend. Stay safe.
Thank you.